History remembers the men and women who stood on platforms and shouted into crowds. It remembers the names printed in newspapers and carved into monuments. But it rarely remembers the people who made those moments possible. This is the story of Margaret McCrae, a woman who helped organize a revolution, then vanished from the record. Margaret McCrae was born in Glasgow sometime in the early 19th century, into a Britain changing faster than it ever had before. Factories roared. Cities swelled. Wages fell. For working-class women like Margaret, survival meant long hours, cramped rooms, and little expectation of being heard, let alone remembered. By the late 1830s, anger was turning into organisation. The Chartist movement emerged, demanding political rights for working men. Public meetings spread from town to town. Crowds gathered. Authorities watched closely. And behind the scenes, people like Margaret McCrae made sure the meetings happened at all. Margaret did not stand at the podium. She worked in the shadows, securing rooms, spreading word quietly, coordinating stewards. She knew which landlords would rent to radicals, which streets were safe, which speakers could be trusted. When police shut one venue down, she helped find another by nightfall. Her name appears only briefly in surviving records, mentioned in letters, noted in local reports. Not praised, not quoted, just acknowledged as someone who arranged or assisted. Yet in a movement plagued by division and repression, organization was power. Margaret wielded it carefully. Being a woman in Chartism meant walking a narrow line. Too visible, and you risked ridicule or arrest. Too invisible, and history erased you. Margaret framed her activism as care, keeping order, supporting families of jailed activists, calming disputes when tempers flared after another petition failed. The 1840s were dangerous years. Meetings were infiltrated. Leaders were arrested. Some organizers disappeared entirely. Margaret survived these years, likely because her work left few official traces. Ironically, that same survival strategy ensured she would later be forgotten. As Chartism declined, Margaret faded back into ordinary life, into wage labor, aging hands, and unrecorded days. No memoir, no portrait. Just the quiet legacy of networks built, skills passed on, and a movement that proved working people could organize themselves. Margaret McCrae stands for thousands of women like her. Women who did the work no one applauded. Who understood that change begins long before speeches, and survives long after names are forgotten. To remember Margaret is to admit that history is incomplete, and that some of its most important architects were never meant to be seen at all.